utilizing the scissor sweep. Something so simple. They think it doesn't work when you get past a purple belt level or a brown belt level or a black belt level. And part of this is because infused inside of our culture in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or in grappling, we have deviated some from the gi and moved over to no gi. I don't mind doing no gi, but when you move over to no gi and you remove the ranking system per se, or the traditionalism inside of the sport, you start injecting some things that you could do in grappling that you can't necessarily do in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but because you're practicing grappling without the gi, a no-gi form of Jiu-Jitsu per se, you start injecting foot locks into the game. And the guard in and of itself is a beautiful thing, and it's beautiful to learn, but when you inject foot locks and leg locks into the game, you create an aversive stimulus to people learning as much of the guard as possible and fine-tuning their guard so that those foot locks don't become a problem as they advance. But when you inject foot locks into the game early, then you stop a person from actually learning the scissor sweep because they're afraid of foot locks. And this is what happens when you go on YouTube and you watch a video that shows a leg lock defense to a scissor sweep, when really in your developmental stage, you should not receive or watch such information at this particular time, because it's going to create a bias for you to do the move. So you actually hinder your ability to do a movement because you've watched something or you've tried something or you practice something that you shouldn't be practicing at the early stages of development. So you never go deep into the scissor sweep because you believe it doesn't work or that it exposes your legs to leg locks, not knowing that when done properly and when done under the direction or in the context of the gi, there are things that you can do to make the technique, quote unquote, infallible on the model level. Because the model is supposed to be perfect. But if you don't ever learn it in its perfection and you learn it in its imperfection, then you begin to believe that the move won't work based upon the imperfections that are created because you didn't learn it perfectly. So what happens is you abandon it and you go to the next thing. And you end up learning a bunch of moves at the beginning stages that work because of their newness. So you keep switching from move to move to move to move to move to move to move when you're rolling in hopes that you will catch somebody with something and do something explosive and kick and flip and move. When moves really aren't supposed to work like that. Your jiu-jitsu should be to the point where you're able to pick a movement and you know all the steps in the movement. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, etc. And then you even know step 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E. And you go through all those iterations until you go to A, to B, up 3, 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D, 3F, 3 up 4. Because there's a certain part in the progression that once you get to a certain number, there is no turning back and you will finish. Or you find out at which number you got stopped. There's certain times when you go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, or you go back from 4 to 3. Or sometimes you get stopped, you got to go all the way back to 1 and work your progression all the way through. But you won't know this if you abandon a move early or you inject something into the system that doesn't belong there. So you'll learn the scissor sweep, you'll learn how to grab the gi, feed, go to the sleeve, plant the foot, cut your knee across, and then instead of learning how to move the person to the right or come back, or you won't learn all those things because you'll stop at 4A or 5B or 5C because you're concerned with a foot lock, and you'll never learn how to work your way through that to the next thing. So on the effective side of learning, you have to change your attitude about the scissor sweep in order to learn the scissor sweep, not just practice the scissor sweep. On the psychomotor side, you have to practice the scissor sweep in its perfection at the model level. And on the cognitive side, you have to think about the scissor sweep in a different way and get your reps from doing the steps. See, the first thing that you will be required to do is write out the steps of the scissor sweep on the left side and on the right. These are also reps that don't require you to be on the mat. But the way that I coach requires you to have notes. You need to do the reps. And then you need to actually feel or think a certain way. Yeah, people, you think it's psychological mumbo jumbo if you want to, but until you tell yourself, I can sweep anybody in the world with the scissor sweep and they can't stop me, and you begin to repeat that over and over again, I don't care if you're a white belt or a blue belt, I am giving you the scissor sweep secrets. Not so that you can do the scissor sweep, but I'm using the scissor sweep as a vehicle so that you can do any move that you choose. I'm choosing the scissor sweep because I have watched and I have talked to enough black belts in my day to know that the basics are the key in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You're not supposed to talk about rolling or watching other people roll in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I'm not going to talk about other people. I'm going to give you my experiences. When I rolled with my instructor, Master Ricardo Laborio, Master Laborio closed his guard. He broke my grip off, grabbed my sleeve, put his other hand on the outside of my knee, moved forward, back, did a closed guard sweep, took the mount, and choked me. I thought it was a fluke. I thought it was a fluke. I said, let's go again. The next time, it didn't take 20 seconds. It took about 25 seconds for him to do the same thing again. It was embarrassing. And the beating ensued. And I looked up at Renato Tavares. And Renato looked at me and he says, man, he does everybody like this. I could not believe it. I see Laborio all the time when people come in with the new stuff. He says, hey man, show me that. And he's saying, show me that because some of the new stuff, I'm sure he knows more now, but he doesn't know a lot of that new stuff. He says, show me that, let me see it. And he could watch it one time and he got it. He says, oh man, that's nothing but this. Because he can break it down to the simplest parts and put the move back together because moves are nothing but movements. But I mean, I've seen this dude do this over and over again. It is unbelievable. I talk with black belts all the time. I mean, in jiu-jitsu, and they say, man, just keep it basic, just keep it simple. But nobody wants to do the simple stuff anymore. But the stuff that's simple is actually complex when you look at it. Okay? Let's jump into the scissor sweep. Let me talk to you about this before we go on to the board and look at things. Jiu-jitsu is nothing but applied engineering. Therefore, when I look at a movement like the scissor sweep, I need to actually draw a free body diagram of what's happening. So I have an individual, I have a person, I have someone who is sitting like this in my guard. I'm applying a force this way, and I'm applying a force this way, okay? If I'm applying a force this way and a force this way, based upon the right hand rule of torque, okay, if I'm applying a force this way and this way, the torque is coming this way, like a screw going in to a piece of wood, which means when I do the scissor sweep and I have my grip on the lapel or the collar and the sleeve, I need to pull directly this way. Now, because there are limitations on how I can pull, I just kind of pull into my body because I can't keep pulling because my arms are locked into my body. So I pull. But what I don't do, which a lot of people do, is I don't sit up and try to throw the person. I don't come up on the elbow because based upon the right hand rule of torque, I'm coming this way. I need to pull this way because I'm actually trying to take the person who is this way, and as I pull them, move them from vertical to horizontal, so they become more like the forces that I'm creating. I'll show you on the board when we get on the board. There are forces around a point, around the axis of the person. So when you look at the forces and you draw the free body diagram, you can see how the move works. It doesn't work with your knee pointing up this way, okay? If I had man, I'm going to show you when we go to the board, and it's going to make sense. So let's go to the board and go over the move. All right, let's go.